Hi, Sarah.
Hello there. It has been way too long. Way too long. I know I've seen you on our Friday Zoom calls, but you know when we were all getting together with a Digitizing a Design Masterclass Plus, and it's been way too long.
It has
Anyway,
been.
it's so good to
It
see
was fun.
you.
Thank you. Good to see you too on Zoom.
Okay, so Mel's Practical Joy. You're working on block 1A.
Finally starting it.
Yay! Now, okay, so we just happen to have Practical Joy back here, but it is not the version that has piece blocks on it, and you can't see the bits that we need to see, so never mind. Okay, so block 1A is a little block that you would think would go with block 1 because it's called block 1A, right? But and the reason that it would come with block 1 is the applique on it is actually kind of extracted from the main block 1. You would like to think that it was going to be all in with block 1, right? However,
Usually.
yeah. So the thought process went along the lines of the main block 1 had the yellow squares on the border. Block 1A had the little green triangles. Maybe if
Right.
I pulled up a picture, just in case anybody is wondering what in the world is she talking about. Let me just,
Yeah, that's why I figured you had moved it to a later one.
yeah, there actually was a really good reason. And a number of people have been saying, where is block 1A?
Yeah, the advantage of
Okay.
having all the blocks is you can go through and look through all of the different ones for all the months and find out where things are.
Yeah. And I saw the file that you put in the Facebook group where you had identified the different blocks. That was awesome. So thank you for that. Okay, so this is the quilt with this is the original quilt. So block 1 is this one, and it had the yellow squares. Block 1A is this one. So you see the applique here is actually this little piece here. It's just been mirrored or flipped.
Okay.
But this has the green triangle borders. Block 2 is this one with the
Kind of like angled.
green chevron-y kind of thing.
Yeah.
Block 3 is this one with the pink triangles. These are kind of more flying, well, they're flying geese pointing outwards. Block 3A also has a flying geese pointing outwards, and block 3B has the same border as block 2. Block 4 you would like to think I would be able to point at block 4 and tell you exactly which one it is, right? Which one is block? It's got to be this one. No, which one is block 4? Oh, it's this one. Okay, goodness. So block 4 went back to the same yellow square borders, and it had some of the pink triangles. Block 5 is this one, I think, which is the first big time that we had the green triangle borders, right? So what we decided, given that in block 1 everybody's getting started, and I didn't want to overwhelm everybody with multiple borders on day 1, I decided let's keep block 1 and put it with block 5, so that once we're stitching out this border, then we're just going to stitch a handful more of those triangles and put it on here, right? So that is why block 1A you will find in block 5 in the product. Now, in your question, you're saying the PDF instructions for block 1A and the video in block 3. Did you really mean block 3?
Yeah, the video's in block 3 for doing the triangles.
Yeah, but the block 3 triangles are different.
Okay, because there wasn't a video for the other triangles, but the block 3 stitches all 10 of them, whereas in the PDF instructions, you do 2 at a time as you go down the 2 columns. You do 1 in each column as you go down to get all 10 of them.
Okay, hang tight just a second.
And I didn't know if you could do the 10 of them, because I have one more hooping. I only did the first 10. And it's like, well, can you do all 10 of them? Is that a wise thing to do or not? Because it takes a lot of time to, take it out of the hoop, put them on, put it back on, and keep going. I didn't change thread. I use the same thread color, but still, taking it on and off and on and off, clipping the jump threads and stuff before you go to the next one. So I was just wondering, because I saw in the video for block 3 that it did all 10 of them. For each step it would do 10, and then you would take it out of the hoop, clip everything, and then do the next step.
So I'm actually looking in block 5.
Yeah, block 5 didn't have any videos.
Wondering why there are no videos.
Are there supposed to be videos for 5?
I thought so, because it had the new border. Okay, let me investigate that.
Because it's kind of the same technique, so that's why I thought the video in 3 was supposed to be.
It's actually a little bit different, because let me just you can still see my screen, right?
Yeah.
I got the block 3 instructions up. Let's just have a look at the block. Where are we? We want practical joy. Block 3 instructions, how to stitch it. Okay,
yeah.
so
block 3 is just like symmetrical.
Yes,
I guess flying geese, and the the 1A border isn't symmetrical, but it's kind of the same idea. You put down the center square, and then you put down 2 different sizes of the sides.
So so for block 3, you can put down all of the pieces for the one side at the same time,
right,
and stitch them, right? So look at where they actually are sitting. We'll zoom in on this picture here. So you can actually put all 10 pieces of fabric down, and they're not, like, this piece of fabric does not get in the way of this piece of fabric seam line.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Right.
You can actually see it a bit better there.
Yeah.
However, on block 1A or block 5, when you are putting the pieces of fabric on, can you see if you
a little tiny overlap? Yeah.
If you were going to put all of the pieces down, then you're going to be stitching on something else, which is why for these guys, we did them 2 at a time, 2 side by side, and then you flip it out of the way, and then you can put the next one down, stitch the seam line, versus this one. And what is this? So the difference is
the pieces are smaller.
Well, it's not so much that the pieces are smaller. These guys pointing down. Well,
whether it's pointing down or pointing up, I don't think that
those guys are pointing up.
Yeah, I don't think it really matters.
The pieces are smaller, and you know why they're smaller? Because for the block 3 or for the pink triangles, we've got extra height to them so that they go out into the seam allowance. Whereas for these guys, the extra seam allowance is actually coming over here, because it the left hand side piece of fabric that goes down versus the right hand side piece of fabric that goes down is actually significantly bigger, because this bit needed to go out into the seam allowance a bunch more. We could have put all of this side down at the same time. These pieces for the second side, those could all have gone down at the same time. But the first side, because they are bigger, they would have gotten stitched over.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to investigate why there weren't any videos for block 5, because they were different triangles. I honestly can't remember if we filmed any or not. But there's usually method to the madness of writing instructions.
No, they were good instructions. I mean, it's stitched out just fine. I did have another question though that I didn't put in there. So I did take the suggestion of using the sticky tearaway to try that. And yeah, you don't need a whole lot of Scotch tape at all, just a little bit on the last one when you flip them. And that worked out nice. The thing is trying to tear off that sticky stabilizer. I was wondering if you had any tips. What I ended up, it took me 3 tries to figure out a way that I could do it relatively fast. The first 2 were like, this is taking a heck of a lot of time. There's got to be a better way. So I figured out that if I take out all of the placement stitching, then I could fold and tear along those seam lines, and then use some little, I have a little plastic, what they call it, the purple thing.
Yeah.
And kind of loosen it up in the triangle part. The rest of it, you could just kind of pull away and then tear along the seam line. And then that made it a lot faster. And then you have to use tweezers to kind of get the last little bits out if you want to get those little bits out. But I was wondering, is there a method that you guys came up with to do that one faster with the sticky tearaway? Since you recommended it, I figured that somebody had done it.
Okay, I am actually going to call on Joe, because it was Joe who figured out using the sticky stabilizer. It's one of those situations where I think it's a case of there's swings and roundabouts, right? Using regular tearaway stabilizer with bits of Scotch tape or bits of double-sided tape is going to give you one set of advantages. One of them being it's probably quicker to tear it away, versus using the sticky stabilizer makes sure that you don't need any of the double-sided tape. You can just plop your pieces down, and when you fold them out, they're nice. You know, they're held exactly where you want them to be. However, it's going to probably take a little bit longer to tear it away, because the stabilizer is going to be thicker in the first place, and obviously it's sticky and it's touching everything in the block. So Joe, do you have any suggestions? Did you come up with any cool ways of getting rid of that stabilizer?
I just left on what I couldn't get off. It made no difference. I tore off as much as I could, and then the rest of it stayed on. You weren't going to see it anyway.
Okay. And so this, I'm almost turning to look at, so imagine that you've got the triangles. I would imagine that the most challenging place to get it out of is actually in the triangle. Only these guys were going this way. The pink guys, which pink guy can you see? You can see this, but the pink guys were going that way. So the wings, I would imagine it was easier to tear away than pulling like the actual triangle part.
Yeah,
Did you leave the triangle in or did you actually tear that center triangle out?
I tried tearing it out. If it came out, good for me. If it didn't, it got to stay.
Okay.
And that's another possibility.
And
I
did it
didn't
make
see
the
where,
seams thicker or not? No?
no, I mean, do you iron the back of yours at all? The seams?
Well, I did press it before I cut it.
Yeah, it didn't make a difference. It
Okay.
didn't, to me, it made zero difference.
Okay. And one other tip is don't use Scotch tape with the sticky stabilizer. It really stuck. I only did it on one. It was the first one and right in the little bit and it kind of tore. It's like, okay, don't do that.
Yeah.
What did you say afterwards?
What did I say afterwards? Oh, darn. Okay, guess I don't do that.
That's exactly what I said.
Yes, Joe, I think we all do not believe that.
Learn by trial and error.
Right?
Yeah. No, it's more the words that were coming out of her mouth. So Marilyn said, she just finished this part. She used regular stabilizer and no tape.
No tape.
Okay, Marilyn, you're
Really?
coming on too, because I want to know how you managed to do this without any tape.
Because I end
don't
up
leave
with
it
my
alone.
foot catching on sometimes if I have something
Yeah.
there. I stitched one thing out that had a little line and sure enough it caught it because I hadn't taped it down. It was some other project, but it was like,
Yeah.
oh, rats.
Well, my machine will let me use my foot pedal to stitch. So I can
Uh-huh.
control quicker when I start and stop and the speed that I'm going. All
Oh,
machines may do that. I don't know.
yeah,
But
the Bernina does.
yeah. So I stitched
Ooh.
the little squares on the stabilizer without thread. I just put holes. Then I laid down my first little square where I knew the next stitching was going to go. And I stitched that line. And then and it's the placement line. So then I moved up to the next square and placed that little piece of fabric, stitched it. And so the stitching holds it down. Then the next step is putting on the square, you put the one piece of fabric. So I put that piece and stitched the seam line and flipped it out. And I finger pressed it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to the next piece and I put on that square, I put the next piece of fabric and flipped it out.
Did you use the little sticky corners to stick the first square down?
Nope.
No. So you went directly to the placement line, the sideways placement line?
Are you holding it in place with your fingers though on the stabilizer?
Yeah, but not right where it sews, obviously, but at the outside edges. And you can hold it and stitch with your foot pedal so that it's smooth. And that's the way I did all of them.
Oh,
Okay.
that's a good tip.
So if you
Interesting.
don't mind having your fingers decently close to the needle on the machine.
Or you can use your seam ripper or a stylus or something to hold it down. Even a straight pin will help if you don't want to get your fingers close. But I've sewn for 50 something years, maybe longer, and I'm not uncomfortable with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm fine doing that too. Maybe I'll
Yeah.
have to give that one a try and see how that works.
Just try it on one thing, and if you don't like it, then you can always put the tape on it.
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, I have one more hooping for 10 more of these things. So.
Yeah. So you're almost done.
Plenty to try with, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could try it with without the sticky stabilizer, do it with the regular one and try it your way and see how that works. So it might be a lot faster because then you don't
Yeah.
have to put all the little sticky things down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have one more hoop of 10 for that block or
Block
for the whole
1A.
quilt?
No,
Okay.
just for 1A. I'm just doing one block at a time. So I'm starting with the
Okay.
smallest one, simplest stuff, but
Yeah.
at least,
Yeah.
learn how to do the in the hoop
Right.
border pieces there.
Yeah.
So that's why I chose
Well,
it.
when I'm working on this quilt for Susie, she had embroidered the first 10 blocks, and so she sent all of it to me and I finished the other 4, and then the borders. And so I had all the blocks embroidered before we put any borders on. And I just went through all the green ones and I figured out how many of each size I needed, did all of them at one time, and then sewed them on, and they look perfect. I mean, they're
Oh.
up there.
So you did all the quilting in the main applique area before you put the borders on?
No, you put the
Oh.
borders on first,
Okay.
and
That's what
then
I
you
thought.
quilt it. Yeah,
Okay.
because the
Okay.
borders have quilting.
Yeah, that's what I figured. So,
Yeah.
okay, I misunderstood you.
Yeah. No, I've just got the borders on. None of those are quilted yet.
Okay, so you did the whole applique stuff first before you put the borders on, and then you did the
Right.
quilting.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so Ruth, just so that you know, this is, and I've only just twigged onto this, this is the second practical joy quilt that Marilyn's made, because Marilyn made her quilt, which, if I'm correct in thinking, that is going on one of Joe's beds with Joe's quilt. And
Yeah,
now
she
you're
has
making Susie's. How is Susie, by the way?
she's doing better. She's working on a little project, and we're going to try to have that finished by the end of May.
We'll give her all our love.
Yeah.
And for those of you who aren't aware, Jimmy passed away quite a while ago now, right?
In middle of January. Yeah.
Yeah, so she's been getting through that.
Yes, it's a struggle, but she is getting a lot better.
Good. We'll be sure to send her all of our love from Meaning of Life Designs.
Okay.
One more quick question, Marilyn. So did you
Sure.
put the borders on after you did all the appliques on all the blocks?
Yes.
Okay. And did that go a lot better?
I'm a rule breaker. I'm a rule breaker.
No, that's fine. I saw other people commenting that they put the borders
Yeah.
on afterwards, and so I was wondering how that went. And it
So
sounds like
here
it
was my
easier.
here was my thinking about it. The background fabric is cut to the right size,
Yes.
and the edges of it are not going to change. There may be some shrinkage in the middle from the applique part, but the edges are going to be the same.
Mhm.
So the border is going to fit on it like it would if you had done it originally before the applique.
Okay.
And then you just smooth it out and make it square. You know, when you put it on the batting, make sure the corners are square, and then pin it real well and stitch in that ditch, and then stitch around the edges so they don't flip up and get a presser foot caught or whatever, like once has happened to me too. And then you just quilt it, and then move on to the next one. So,
Okay.
you know, that just seemed to be a little quicker method for me. I don't know. I'm a rule breaker.
Hey, if it works, it's great. It's not
Yeah.
breaking any rules.
Marilyn,
It's a case of, yeah, you got to do what works for you. So my
Marilyn,
thinking
did you take
behind,
a shortcut?
Did I take a shortcut?
Did you really? Did I just hear Marilyn took a shortcut?
Well, I don't know if it was a shortcut. It ended up being the same amount of work.
well, you
It
all
was
were
just at
taking the
different
same
times.
shortcut, Joe,
Right? I thought I was the
right?
queen of shortcut.
So Ruth, so those two could kind of wind each other up all day long. My thinking behind putting the borders on first is, and the whole reason for cutting the center part to size, adding the borders, and then doing the applique, and then doing the whole quilting is purely to keep the amount of fabric used down. Right? Because normally if we were, if we did the applique first, there would be probably an inch all around extra to accommodate that little bit of shrinkage that's always going to happen when you put the applique on. So you've got some trimming to do. There was not any clear center in any of these blocks to allow trimming so that you could get the quilting, especially around the outside edges, exact. So I figured the easier way to do it was start out with a piece of fabric, you know exactly what size it is, add the borders, which has the advantage of keeping your seat or the edges of your fabric clean on that center panel, right? And then you know that the quilting is going to fit. Because some of the quilting designs actually are placed based on the corners of that inside piece of the border.
But my,
So
I'll just mention that the background fabric didn't fray and it was floated in the hoop. So it wasn't any stretch to it or anything like that. And so I didn't have any trouble getting the borders on it the exact size that it should have been. They were flat and straight when I got through with the embroidery.
Okay.
there's lots of different ways that you could do this. And probably all of them are going to work.
Yeah.
Okay. I have several things I can try and figure out which one
Yeah.
works for
Yeah.
me. Thank
And
you
if you're
very much.
starting on block 1A, then you got lots of blocks to experiment
I
with.
know. This is just the first one. I figured with the quilting and the hoop, because I haven't done it before. I only did the sample one and that came out fine. So I was like, okay, let's go to the next size up.
Good.
Yeah.
So whilst
Good
we're
idea.
having this conversation about practical joy, I see Wendy sitting. I'm going to bring Wendy on if you're good with that, Wendy. I just asked you to unmute there because if you have not seen on Facebook, Wendy has the very first award-winning MEL's Practical Joy quilt. I think that is fabulous, Wendy. It was so cool to see the picture of you with your quilt. And
Thank
I'm
you.
so proud of you.
Yeah, congratulations.
Any
Thank you.
tips?
So also, I'm not sure if you're aware, but Yellow Submarine won Best of Show.
Yes, I saw that too. Oh my
And
God.
what happened was both of them were in the same category, but because my Yellow Submarine got boosted up to the Best of Show, then that put Practical Joy into second place in the awards of it. So that was kind of cool.
That's exciting. That is really cool.
Yeah, it was.
It's
It was.
way
It was
cool.
an honor. It's a very prestigious show, actually. They have over 300 quilts that are judged. So Sarah, feather in your cap because I was blown away, and I've had so many phone calls from the guild and comments and will you teach us a class? How did you end up getting that so flat? There's just been numerous. And one of the girls was telling me, sorry, she was there when the judges were judging. They could not figure out how I put it together. They couldn't figure out how there's all that beautiful quilting on the back and it was all put together. So they were
That's special.
also very surprised. So
The joy quilt?
credit to you, Sarah. I just did the work, but your designs are wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Was that the joy quilt, Wendy, that they were commenting on?
No, I think it's the Yellow Submarine.
Yellow
that they're
Submarine one.
probably
Okay,
commenting
yeah.
on.
Okay.
Yeah.
They were
Anyway.
both beautiful.
Thank you.
So, now your Yellow Submarine had stars on it, right?
Yes.
Daryl, I think Daryl Leach also has a Yellow Submarine, which has stars on it, that one in Paducah.
Oh, really? There you go.
Wow. Great.
Very good.
I also saw, you remember that quilt that had part of Sedona's star
Yes.
and some other things of yours all mixed together in one quilt? That's going to
It's
be on a calendar.
Heather Feather Border, Sedona's Surprise, Go Bedazzled, and 4 people getting together and
Yeah.
doing amazing things.
That's going to be on a calendar. The front of
I
a calendar.
think I know that. because they asked me if they could publish it. It's like, why in the world would I say no?
Well, really?
But I I did ask them to send me a copy of it. So I
Yeah.
think I knew that, although I had forgotten. But yay!
Pretty cool.
It is so cool. You guys, you know what? You guys are awesome though for stitching these things out. They are not simple quilt in a day kind of quilts. I don't think anything we've ever done at Meaning of Life Designs is a quilt in a day kind of quilt. It takes dedication. So I am in awe of the fact that you guys join me on these journeys. So thank you. And thank you for putting the quilts out into the world in the competitions. That means the world to me.
I also think it's so much fun to kind of stand back and listen to the comments of people that make, and then you sneak up behind them and just say, well, and they'll say, is that your quilt? And then you get into a really cool conversation with people. So that's kind of, you sort of stand back and listen, and then, yeah, it was good.
Yay. Thank you.